off of that, we also lost a guy that was in pro wrestling several times, but boxing legend George Foreman, Big George, one of the greatest heavyweight champions of all time, hardest hitters. Like this dude was like the scariest dude on the planet in the 1970s, bro. He won the Olympics. I think when did he win the Olympics? 1968.
68. Yeah.
I think it was 68, and then he ends up, Ali has to go away for a little while, got some heat for not wanting to go to Vietnam. He takes off for a little while. And this guy just fucking crushes Joe Frazier, dude. Like within 2
Beats
rounds.
His ass.
Down goes Frazier is like the famous call there. And was the scariest brother on the planet until Ali rope-a-doped him in the Rumble in the Jungle. So he ended up taking some time off. It took like 10 years off. He went and became a preacher, and then he came back to boxing to raise money for his church, and then ends up becoming the world heavyweight champion again like 5 years later, defeating Michael Moore, defeating him.
Michael Moore, that's right. He did beat Michael. Who did Michael Moore beat for the title? Did he beat Tommy Morrison? Is that right?
Yes, he did, but I don't think he beat him for the title, but he did beat Tommy Morrison.
I thought he might have beat him for the title. I can't remember that. That's like the George. I remember when we were kids, the George Foreman comeback was like epic. Like it was like Rocky, but it was like real life. You had this 40 guy our age, dude. He was our age as the world heavyweight champion.
He was 44 when he won the world heavyweight title, dude. And I was watching that fight live. Like that was a big deal in the Gilbert household. We had like the illegal cable box hooked up, and like everybody sitting around the TV watching George Foreman and Michael Moore. Like nobody thought he had a chance because Michael Moore was a good fighter.
He was a good fighter.
He was never the same after that, but he was a really good fighter.
Dude, that was actually a really good era for heavyweights too.
Yeah.
Like this is in the middle of Vander Holyfield's like prime, and you had Riddick Bowe and Lennox Lewis, Michael Moore, and then all of a sudden Ray Mercer, and then all of a sudden George freaking Foreman comes out of nowhere, and there was a bunch of titles at the time too. But the fact that George Foreman did lay claim to one of the world heavyweight titles, you're younger than me. God, he seems so old at the time. I feel so old right now.
Yeah,
the fact that he was able to do that, what a legend. Do you believe Hulk Hogan? Because remember, we were also hold on. Okay,
I have notes on this, by the way. I prepared for this conversation, but go ahead.
Oh, good. So, like when I was in college, the George Foreman Grill was all the rage. So, guys who don't know this, the George Foreman Grill was like this press grill. It had basically an iron, right? It was essentially an iron.
Yeah, it has since been replaced by the air fryer, but I had it whenever I was in college too. And I actually grilled steaks on it and grilled chicken because I didn't have like a charcoal grill because I just had an apartment. I couldn't have a charcoal grill, and I didn't want to cook it. I was like, oh, I don't want to cook it on a frying pan. I want the lines. So I got the Foreman grill, and it was like, it's the same thing as putting in a fucking frying pan. It was the same
100% the same thing, but you plugged it in and you just like, no, when you're a college kid, you couldn't have like had that stuff. And I was an athlete too. So we were eating like chicken breast like there was no tomorrow. You throw it on that Foreman, sizzle that thing up. I had a roommate who's like, yeah, the greatest part of the Foreman is you don't have to clean it. And we're going, wait, what? You don't clean my Foreman? And then I put my Foreman on there once and black ooze dripped out of it. And I'm like, I can't use this thing anymore, man. But yeah, so the apocryphal story, because Hulk Hogan lies. Hulk Hogan, the same Hulk Hogan that claims he was offered the bass position in Metallica that went to Jason Newsted, says that the George Foreman Grill was originally meant for him, but he missed the phone call. And they went down to the next guy in the list who was George Foreman. Right. Like, do we believe the Hulkster in this one?
Not even a little bit. Not even like but you know what I do believe? I believe the Hulk believes it. I think Hulk is just he has just bullshitted so much that after a while he starts believing his own bullshit. I believe that he thinks that he was offered a spot in Metallica, and probably what happened is after Cliff Burton died, right? And they're looking for a bass player. Somebody got drunk and was like, Hulk can do it. And now ever since then he's like believed that he had a shot. I think it's like a similar thing. Like Jimmy Hart was like, oh man, that was supposed to be you, but we didn't answer the call, baby. Like it could have been like that right there. And he's taken it and now it's living a life of its own. It's like, I could have been a billionaire, brother, but I missed the phone call.
Dude, that's the funniest part. I truly think you're right. I think Hulk has told so many lies over the years that his brain cannot separate reality from fiction anymore. Like he is like the living work. Right? Yeah. Like he is the funny part is like when Cliff Burton died, like Hulk Hogan was in the middle of his like 4-year run as champion. Like the thought of the whole thing is ridiculous to think about, but he truly believes he could have been the bass player for Metallica. He truly believes that he should have had.
Hey, Vince, brother, got these guys, this band, dude. Metallica, you ever heard of them, brother? No. Well, they're probably one of the biggest bands. They just had their first video, so we know they're ready to make some money, brother.
That's before they had their first video. Like Cliff dies after Master of Puppets. They were still kind of underground. They were the most
their
popular
first video
band.
Their first video was One, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was Injustice for All. So Cliff Burton dies when?
After Master. Cliff never recorded. Okay. Cliff never
recorded. It was Kill 'Em All, Master, and then Ride the Lightning. And then
Kill 'Em All, Ride the Lightning, then Master.
Then Master, and then Injustice for All was after that. So correct. It was like, right. So I had my timeline down. So like, they're okay. Look, I was pretty close, but like, oh, hey brother, they're I'm gonna be in the band, dude. Eventually, we're gonna get them to cut their hair, and we'll go to do some unplugged, brother. It's like, I think they're ready to make some money, brother. I don't think this wrestling business is out for me. And like, he was not in a heavy metal band, by the way. No. He was a legit bass player.
He was
like a legit, like that's how he got discovered. He was a bass player in Florida, but in like a funk band, in like a funk band. Yeah,
like the whole. The timeline is ridiculous, but the fact that and I don't think you're right. I think he truly believes all these insane things. Like he'd be like, "Oh, I thought Andre was going to beat me that night, man. The dude could barely walk." Like,
yeah,
what? I tore every muscle in my back when I slammed him. Like, you didn't. You worked like 2 weeks later. Like, it's just. But again, that's the Hulk Hogan.
I know we're supposed to pay tribute to George, but I mean, we can't not talk Hulk Hogan.
We are. Yeah, we are paying tribute to George by talking about what an idiot Hulk Hogan is.
Yeah, but we'll circle back to George. We got a little bit of time. We're over the hour, but fuck it, who cares? Yeah, we went a little bit early tonight. But so one of my favorite lies that he ever told is a completely like provable lie. And Undertaker has talked about this several times because he's still pissed about it. He fucking hates it. So when Undertaker beats Hogan for the title, Hogan was like worried sick. The Undertaker was going to give him the tombstone and like break his neck, right?
Okay, well, did you see how Undertaker used to give the tombstone? The old school tombstone, he did it over the shoulder, and he was fucking crushing these job guys with it. So I kind of get where Hogan's coming from on that one.
So I could see Hogan being nervous. Plus, Hogan's like pretty beat up. He was like 35. He was like he is way too overweight, right? Like there's way too much muscle mass on him, and his back was jacked up, knees were jacked up already by the time he's 35. Which is one of the reasons why, like, other than the steroid scandal, like Vince was ready to kind of move on. But so he gives him the tombstone pile driver, and he's like 6 inches off the ground. Doesn't even come close to it. And afterwards, he's like saying that Undertaker broke his neck, right? So now Undertaker has heat with everybody. And then they rewind the video, and it's like, no, like you didn't even come close. He's like, oh, well, it was just a jar, brother, for whenever you hit your knees. But he didn't even come close. He told that story for years that Undertaker broke his neck when he didn't even come close.
Undertaker believed it for years.
Yeah, until he watched the video back.
Yeah, and it was like years, like 10 some odd years afterwards. And he's like, that fucking liar, I didn't come anywhere close to it. Like he felt so guilty for hurting. Because think about it, in the late 80s, early 90s, you killed the golden goose. Like Hogan was the reason why everybody was making all kinds of money, and nobody wanted to be the guy to hurt Hulk Hogan. Right. And here's Undertaker, who had just like a year earlier, this is 91, right? Survivor Series 91. Yeah. He debuted in WWF out of nowhere, essentially. A year earlier, like he gets a rocket strap to the world title. He really does.
Yeah.
And he's beating Hulk Hogan for it. It's like, oh, I just murdered him.
Yeah. Yeah. But to get back to George Foreman, I mean, like this dude in the 70s, when I say he was a killer, like some of you guys, like young cats, if you don't know anything about boxing, think Mike Tyson in the 80s. That was George Foreman in the 70s. Like
but bigger,
right? Just like the scare, and like, he wasn't like the lovable fat guy that you saw in the 90s. Like he was a lean, mean, like big, scary, like hated the world type guy. Whenever he swung on you, it was the most ill-intentioned punch you've ever seen in your fucking life. Like this guy wanted to kill you every time he swung at you. It was insane.
He had like in the 70s, there was this like, let's talk about like race relations a little bit. Like Ali was kind of the enemy in the 60s, but by the time the 70s come around, like the world has kind of accepted Ali, right? Yeah. Now Ali becomes a hero, right? Which is weird. Like he had this baby face turn because I mean, like it came with Cosell because Cosell loved him, and then all of a sudden when he came back, everybody loved Ali. Everybody loved Ali. People hated Foreman.
Yeah.
Like he was like the angry black man, which is like, stupid for me to say that, but that's how people looked at things in the 70s. Like
and Ali was a part of that, right? He was
he played into it big time,
getting like white people to hate Foreman.
Yes,
right?
Because Ali was a pro wrestler at heart.
Yes,
and like, oh my gosh, yeah, there was the Rumble in the Jungle.
Yes,
Was Ali the famous rope-a-dope? Ali very famously figures out how to beat George Foreman by just he just crowded him and just ate a bunch of body shots. And knew Foreman wouldn't have the gas to go on. So Ali would just eat the body shots. And at the end of every round, Ali would just hit a couple jabs, boom, 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 boom in the face. And he was racking up some points. And then by the end of the fight, Foreman can barely pick his arms up. And Ali gets some good shots in at the end. Because Ali in the 70s couldn't move like Ali in the 60s could.
Yeah. Yeah. So he had to like fight smarter, which is why Muhammad Ali is in my opinion, the greatest of all time. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, because he was able to come back and win that world title and then go on another run, and then like his body kind of started to fail him and his head started to fail him after a while, and he had those like disastrous fights with fucking Spinks, and of course he ended up beating Spinks, but like he lost to Spinks and he beat him, and then Larry Holmes was like. And then he lost to Trevor Burbick, and I was like, oh man, this brother's.
He was just old. He was old at that point. Like they look back at it, they look at some of the series with Joe Frazier. He eats a lot of shots to the head, and there's thoughts that a lot of the there's actually a lot of theories that a lot of Parkinson's can come from CTE and from concussions, and like there's a lot of linkage to the.
I believe it. Yeah,
me too. And you look back at some of those fights with Frazier, and my God, does he eat a ton of shots to the head?
Yeah,
because he never really fights the same.
The third fight, man.
The third fight is the one specifically they look back on. They're like, look at this. That was the Thrilla Manila, I believe, was the third fight. So yeah,
I'm trying to remember if that was because the first one was in Madison Square Garden.
Madison Square Garden. That's where Frazier wins.
Yeah. Yeah, well, because that was Ollie. It wasn't Ollie's comeback fight, but that was like on his comeback tour.
Yeah, he wouldn't fight anybody right away. You give him a couple tomato cans to get him warmed up to that, but he wasn't. Remember, Ali lost his best years to being in not prison, but I mean, like Ali was basically banned during his best years as a fighter.
He protested Vietnam, and I've had this argument with people, and there is no more argument. He was not a draft dodger. Right. There were draft dodgers that absolutely fled the country, or they got their rich parents to get them out of the war. He stood up to the government and said, fuck you, I'm not going.
Yeah, he just said, I'm not doing it.
Yeah. He just said, I'm not dodging the draft. I'm standing up to you. I'm not going because I don't believe in it. And I was like, and they're like, Mike, he's your hero. Like for legit. You go to my garage right now and it's like a picture. I got this big frame thing of Ollie standing over Sonny Liston. So like, of course.
One of the greatest sports pictures of all time.
He's absolutely my hero, right? Big time. And so, but he says, Mike, that's still your hero. You're a military guy. You deployed twice. Why would you respect him so much? Because like he stood up and said, I'm not going. Had he hit, I would have a different opinion.
You chose that. That's the difference. Is like, it's a different world. Like our generation, the generations younger than this, didn't go through with what our dad's generation did. With like the draft and not knowing if you're going to fight and fighting if you're essentially conscripted into the war. And Ali just said, I got no quarrel. This is exactly, I have no quarrel with the Viet Cong.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like,
I just have so much respect to that. Anybody that's willing to, he gave up everything for his
beliefs.
And I'm like, you know what? I respect that.
It's a fucking man. That's a fucking man who can sit there and say, I believe in this and I will not sell out my beliefs for whatever. Like it's just, it's a hero. Like I could talk about Muhammad Ali forever.
For him, me too. Oh, and I just wish that our guy Robert Silva was alive today to talk about him. So, you got me thinking about Uncle Robert Silva, Fight Game Media, man. He was the best.
Good dude, man.
Yeah, he was good dude. But I don't want to end it on a sour note, man. I could talk old school boxing like all night. Let's get to some let's get to the chat. And then we'll call it a night. Say, how you doing, JD? This is Anthony. Who's Anthony, JD?
Oh, one of my students.
Oh,
you shouldn't be watching the show, by the way.
So I'm immediately gonna stop cussing.
Shit,
dang it! So JD's got heat now. JD's in trouble.
This is new.
God's drunkest driver, Bobby Bugatti. He says, "Yo, what's up?"
Yo,
welcome. We got some people watching on X. Let's see.
I bet we do.
The Snuka Tombstone was rough.
He dropped.
I think the scariest one that I ever saw was when he tombstoned Kane. So that was, at WrestleMania 14.
Jimmy Snuka can handle a bad pile driver because karma.
Yeah. So let's see. Brad says, I'm not going to say the word now because we got kids watching, but F the Hulk Hogan, Iron Sheik, and George Foreman probably. George Foreman was on WCW. Like, they were friends.
George Foreman, I believe Foreman is in the corner. I want to say Foreman's in the corner when he beats Flair. At Bash the Beach 94.
Yeah, Bash the Beach 94. Like they were like good friends. So yeah, no, I don't think there was any animosity. And George Foreman, was a shameless self-promoter himself.
Right? Oh, they're cut from the same cloth, man.
So he's like he's also a carny. As much as I love the fact, and I love the new movie that came out where he goes away because of his faith. I got so much respect for that, and then comes back. He's doing all the good, and then he learns like the business side of boxing, right? Mm-hmm. And then he becomes like still a good man, but also understands like you got to be kind of a carny, right? And so he was able to carny his way into some business deals. Forgot to mention Foreman's fight, I think in 1989. Somebody can fact check me, with Evander Holyfield. Oh, amazing! One of the greatest fights you'll ever watch. Like he's just up there. And if you thought that he had no stamina against Ali, like he was kind of like, it seemed like he was a little bit gassed out in that fight with Evander, because Evander's like lighter, leaner, faster, younger, but he stood toe to toe with him the entire fight. He got his ass kicked, but it was like some of the bravest shit I've ever seen from a boxer. Like a man just did not have any quit in him whatsoever in that fight.
Foreman had these big ass arms, right? Like these giant shoulders and big hands. I mean, that's a lot. Like, that's why he was a power hitter, because he wanted to get those things boom, boom, boom to get people down. Like Evander Holyfield won his Olympic title at the light heavyweight division. Like Evander came up, Evander grew into it. Foreman was a big bitch from and it's hard to, if you're a big, massive dude, it's hard to carry those muscles deep into periods. Like that's why guys like that he'd knock you out, because that's just what God gave him. Right. Big ass arms, big dude. Evander, different kind of fighter. God damn, I love that era of heavyweight boxing.
Yeah, for sure. Dennis Owen says the amount of people that act like AEW should one-sided play the good guy is wild. Even other shows in the VOW feed act like TK should just capitulate without getting anything in return. I get where you're coming from. I understand your argument. I understand Dave Meltzer's argument. I also understand the other side of the argument. I'm a lifelong fan of Lex Luger. Okay. I see that man in that wheelchair. If he came to me, like rolling up to me in a wheelchair, like, hey man, can we use Sting for the night? If it's me, I'm like, I gotta say yes. Right. Like, even though it's like, you're kind of helping WWE, but you're not really helping WWE. They're not making, I know they sell tickets to this thing, but nobody's buying the ticket to see Sting induct them. They're buying the ticket because it's just the Hall of Fame event.
And here's the thing, it's a scorpion and the frog thing for sure. Like, you're going to get bit by the scorpion over and over again, but they're going to bite you whether you give them Sting or not.
Yeah.
Like, nothing changes. I don't know what WWE can give them that's worth anything, quite frankly.
Right.
Like, okay, they give them some Sting footage for a documentary. Where are they going to show it? You know what I'm saying? Like, people don't buy DVDs anymore. It's like, are they going to run it on Max? Okay.
I mean, YouTube.
But there's no money. There's no money there. So I mean, like, I don't foresee what they would be willing to give. Like I said, I would try to make a play because we want Cody to introduce the world title match at the next pay-per-view and smile and see what they say.
Yeah. That would be fun. That would be fun. And last comment before we call it a night. The fact that Hogan's last miss from Nonzo, tactical playmaker. The fact that Hogan's last match happened in TNA kills that POS so much. Actually does give me so much joy.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Fantastic.
Yeah. Cause he was just broke at the time and wanted nothing to do with TNA, but like that was the only way he could make money was to go to TNA. And he thought the TNA was like so beneath him. So did Eric Bischoff, but they're like, oh brother, there's money and we got to go. And like Hogan's going through the divorce and, got himself jammed up with that Bubba the Love Sponge stuff. And like, he's like,
boy, is that guy really bad at picking friends?
Yeah. You know what? Like, He did good with, like the only guy that's ever really truly been loyal to him is probably Jimmy Hart.
Because Jimmy Hart's
like,
a wonderful human being.
Yeah, because like Brutus Beefcake like tried to swindle him out of some money, and like a bunch of other, and then of course Bubba, who was Like Hogan, I listened to his show back in the day when he was on Sirius. I could have told Hogan this guy's a scumbag. Like he's like shady as hell.
The way I don't want to do this whole thing, but like I almost used a bad terminology for this.
Don't use it.
I'm not gonna do it. To hose over your supposed friend the way he did is just like messed up on so many levels.
Yeah.
Like it just look it up if you don't know what I'm talking about. Like Hogan's, would someone call that karma too?
Yeah. So Hogan was like, or Undertaker was saying in the clip. I just watched the clip the other day because I just get random clips on my YouTube feed. And so like it was just a clip of Undertaker talking about Hogan coming out in LA on the Raw debut on Netflix to like a series of boos. And he's like, well, and Undertaker had also come out that night and he got wildly cheered. They voted for the same guy. They campaigned for the same guy, but they all hate Hogan. But Hogan was trying to blame the Republican stuff, but Undertaker was right there with him, right? It's like, no, this is karma because you're a bad guy.
So, they work for TKO. That is, you are. There's not a more Republican company in the world. It's like these fans are all about it. Like you are just an asshole.
Yeah, that's so. Like if like that crowd hates you, then like you must be a bad guy. And it's like a lifelong of scumbaggery from Hogan.
It's just it's poetic justice, really. The fact that everybody else kind of figured out what Dave was trying to tell everybody 30 years ago. Yeah. Right. This is why I get mad when people shit on Dave Meltzer. It's like, no, listen to Dave. Like, he's right about 99% of things.
Okay. I said, we'll do one more since we actually got one from
I guess Brian Knobs is a good dude. Yeah.
Yeah. Brian Knobs. Yeah. I mean, he's going through some stuff. I think he might have to have his like leg amputated or something like that. So, yeah. So they actually did a DDP, Goldberg, Sting, Marcus Bagwell, and a bunch of other WCW alums did like a fundraiser for him, like online. So like they did an online auction. So they raised up a bunch of money. So
Dallas Page is a great human being.
You know what? Like I know we got the John Huber and Shad Gaspard Award in the Observer. I think it should just be the Diamond Dallas Page Award. Like I know people give him heat because he videos it, but here's why he videos it.
Because
is he putting himself over? Is he putting himself over? Yes, but he's also giving hope to other people.
Yeah.
Look at how far these people were down, and look at them now. The JD, I challenge you as a man to watch the Butterbean one and try not to cry. Try not to cry.
I'm
seeing
so
Butterbean, another legendary boxer, the king of the 4-rounders from Tuesday Night Fights back in the day. Like the guy can't. Like he's in a wheelchair. He's like 500 pounds. The guy can't walk. He is in a training for a boxing match right now. It's like he is in shape right now.
Like Dallas Page is just a wonderful human being. Like he just tries. Yes, he does it. He put himself over. Yes, but he's using his like fame to help people.
Yes,
like, and that's a good thing. If you can use that kind of stuff to bring happiness to people, that makes you a good dude. DDP is working with Abdullah the Butcher now. That's awesome. I didn't know that.
Great. Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, I saw the video of that. So
I didn't know that. And Abby's always been a large mammal. So I mean, God, Abdul the Butcher, he got to be in his 80s by now, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Legend. Like, oh man.
Well, we could talk all night.
Yeah, we should pull this up.
Yeah, because it's like super late for you, and I got to go downstairs and cook dinner. So, but guys, that's gonna do it for us this week on the Mike and JD Show. Head to patreon.com/the Mike and JD Show. Make sure you hit the like button, comment, and subscribe. Please do, and then and follow us on Twitter. Do all that stuff. And until next time, mahalo.
Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you work your A game. A made no rain from the track when we unite and spit. This is an A game, better bring your A game. Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you work your A game. A made no rain.
Listeners we've had.